Financial problems. Elder law. Tax problems. Business matters. Divorce. Personal injury. Bankruptcy. Your life. Your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Hi, welcome to this week's show on Law and Reality. You know, we've talked about a lot of different things, but before we get into it, I want to welcome our Flint audience to this show. And I thought, well, let me start off introducing the crew. Brian, it's good to have you with us. Brian Small.
Pleasure to be here, Ken. Always fun, and welcome to Flint.
Absolutely. Brian is the head of our bankruptcy department, partner at the law firm of Thav Gross, and major player in what we call financial crisis management. And also with us today, Pat Simasko, our co-sponsor of the show.
Thank you very much.
Pat is an elder law expert. He's been on the show many times, and we're going to talk today, actually, this segment of the show, we're going to cover foreclosure, and that the issue is the problem has not gone away. The next segment of the show, next week's show, Pat's going to lead us through elder law issues with respect to Medicaid and aid and attendance benefits for veterans, which are big issues that we've talked about a lot on the show, but we really want to dig into it. Now, on the foreclosure issue, let me put it in the framework. I was kind of thinking about a couple of issues, and really why it came up was this week alone, I had two cases come to me where people called me looking for help with a foreclosure problem in what I would consider to be the worst state of affairs. The case had already gone to sale, and in one case the redemption period is expiring in 2 months, and the other case the redemption period expired September 12th. And in both of those circumstances, in the ordinary course, there's very little that can be done to solve and save the house because, Brian, what's the key when you want to stop foreclosure?
If you're going to stop a foreclosure, it has to be before the date of the sale. It can't be afterwards because then the foreclosure has already occurred. What's going on here is, and let's back up a little bit further, is the process so people understand it. When you're behind on your house, and the lender decides that they're going to foreclose, the first thing they do is they send you a letter telling you that they're going to accelerate the loan and that it's all due. And then, about 30 days later, they start the foreclosure process. And that's where they...
Well, not 30 days later, because they have to wait 120 days.
Assuming you're 120 days behind in the first place,
right.
Then the 30-day letter accelerating your mortgage, and effectively what happens is they're going to post a notice on your door that says, in 4.5 weeks, your house is going to be sold by the sheriff of the county in which you reside. And then what happens is the house gets sold to the highest bidder at a public auction. And then, under Michigan law, you have 6-month right of redemption generally, depending on, and possibly up to a year, depending on the amount of equity you have in your home, to reside in that home, redeem the home, or get out of the home.
Now,
which means buys it back.
Yeah.
Right.
Redemption means you have to actually come up with the full amount that the lender bid at the sale. Normally when the house goes, let's suppose your mortgage balance is $250,000. The lender's now accelerated that balance, $250,000 is owed. The lender at the foreclosure sale bids. He can bid the full $250,000, which would be called a full credit bid, meaning at that point your debt is satisfied, but the lender now owns the home. You then, during that 6-month period, have the right to tender to the lender, to the buyer at the foreclosure sale, the $250,000, and then you own the home, the mortgage is gone. You can't tender a penny less, though. You can't tender the 8 months that you were behind on your payments once it goes to sale. That's the big problem. Now, it seems as though we're covering the process at this point. I want to mention one other thing. When the lender bids at the sale, its obligation is to bid market value of the property. So if the home is underwater and it's only worth $200,000, the lender could bid $200,000, which would mean that would be the redemption price that you'd have to pay to get the house back. But the important thing also to know is when the lender bids less than the amount of the debt, it can then sue you. And
Even the lender himself.
For the deficiency on the mortgage.
It's the deficiency balance that is the most important issue at that point. If you're going to lose the house, you don't want to lose the house and owe the lender any money
and
at the
get
same
sued
time.
4 or 5 years later for the money.
And watch what happens. Oh, if you've got a second mortgage and you've lost it to foreclosure to the first mortgage, that second mortgage did not go away. The balance is still due and owing.
The debt didn't go away.
Yes,
the mortgage
that's right.
goes away, but the debt doesn't go away.
It was an unsecured debt at that time.
And these are the things people don't realize.
Can I
Number
ask
one
one
is
question?
Sure, absolutely.
From the time that you first stop making your very first payment, how long before it actually gets to that sheriff sale? And the typical with the market that we're in right now with so many.
The
it
answer
depends
is,
on if you intervene.
Yeah, but if you do nothing, from the day you stop selling, stop paying. The earliest the lender is going to be able to go to sheriff's sale is approximately 4 weeks after 4.5 weeks after 120 days. So I'll call it 150 days.
What's the norm now, though? Is it a year, 2 years?
That's the norm, unless you step in and intervene to try and save the house from going to foreclosure. If you apply for a loss mitigation remedy, like a loan modification, if you try and short sell, if you communicate with the lender. The biggest problem is people still bury their head in the sand. The example, how we got into this, is the two people that contacted me this week, and they're both good people, and they both have income such that had we taken on the case before it went to sale, I believe in both cases I would have gotten a modification easy on the mortgage. But now it's too late for that. Now we have to go to a different measure to solve the problem, and it's all because they were either embarrassed or they didn't want to confront the issue, and they let it drag on all the way to the point of the sale.
Burying your head is never the way to go.
If you've got, at the beginning of the day, you've got 10 possible solutions. At this point, having the sale already occur and redemption basically running out, they're down to one possible solution.
Once it's gone to sale.
Actually, there's a little creativity that's going to happen.
Once it's gone to
I'm sure
sale,
we'll talk about that after the break, which is coming up.
Yeah, one solution is pay off the redemption price. The other one is you have to somehow talk the lender into setting aside the sale or filing suit to do it, and both of those are very difficult things to do, and we will address them when we come back from the break. But also when we come back from the break, I want to talk about why is it that this problem still goes on? Why do we still see foreclosure? Why are people still getting into that problem? Where is our economy at from that standpoint? We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. All right, so we started off talking about the foreclosure process, and where I want to get to, Brian and Pat, is I want to go through what are your options to stop foreclosure. But before we do that, let's think about why is it that we're still getting into this problem? And basically, there was a great article all the way back in January of this year in the Wall Street Journal that said for many U.S. families, financial disaster is just one setback away. And what they go on and they're basically saying is 70% of U.S. households are still struggling with one of three problems or more. And it's either low income, insufficient savings, or debt. And, you know, if you think about it, Brian, what's the expression you always use?
Well, I've been saying it for 20 years. Most people are one paycheck away from bankruptcy. And it's a true statement. When you look at the average person, if you said 9 out of 10 people that you know and said, how much liquid savings do you have in the bank? You know, the pundits say that you should have 6 months liquid cash in the bank so that you can survive a financial disaster. Most people have like what's left over at the end of the month for their next paycheck.
What the article says is low-income households have about 9 days of income in the bank or at home, and the rest of the economy, 55% of U.S. households are quote-unquote savings limited, which says they don't have enough liquid cash on hand to cover 1 month.
That's funny because we do so much retirement planning with our financial division of the office. Social Security says that they're funded until the year 2035 or 2037, but if they don't raise the debt ceiling, Social Security can actually start bouncing checks. So the U.S. government isn't even solvent enough to start keeping up with the Social Security obligations.
See, the one nice thing about the government
they can keep printing money.
They can keep printing money and they can keep raising the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the American household doesn't get the ability to raise their debt ceiling unless the creditors want to extend them the credit, and printing money is generally speaking considered to be an illegal act when you do it in the household.
In the household, yeah.
Even if you got
with a good color printer.
Even with a really good color printer, it does tend to be a problem.
When we were kids, that was a dream come true. Like, how would you really print a dollar bill? Now with HD, laser printing, all these dots and whatever they call them, who knows? It's not the way to go. But the whole point of this article is it basically says there are 4 problems that the American households face. One is the economy is growing, but paychecks are not. And I think we got a good measure of that in the September jobs report as well. But what it pointed out in this article is between 1979 and 1999, wages went up 22% adjusted for inflation. Between 1999 and 2009, they went up 2%. And between 2009 and now, it's been less than 2% more because the wage growth is virtually nothing. The jobs report that just came in September, we were looking for 200,000 more jobs. We got 142,000. The August number of jobs was downgraded to 136,000, where what they were talking about looking for was 200 to 225,000 in job growth, and they also wanted wage growth. In September, wages actually went down by 1 cent, bringing the average hourly rate down to $25.09. So what it says to me, what I think it says to everyone is, we're not out of the woods. People are still going to be getting into trouble on their mortgages and on their homes, and people that got into problems in 2009 and 10 and were able to get out of those problems with loan modifications are going to end up revisiting that problem.
And one of the biggest reasons they're going to revisit that problem is because loan modifications are tiered in that interest increases. Every year you're in a loan modification.
Yeah, after that 2-year period.
You got to start at 2%, then you work your 3%, 4%, 5%, and the difference between the 2% mortgage when you got your loan modification and you went, I can breathe,
and the 4.5%,
and the 4.5% or 5% is the difference between being able to put food on the table or not.
You know that it can be $250, $300 a month, and that's a boatload of money when you're in that kind of a situation. And it's the difference between, if you don't have it, you don't have the spending power to do it.
You see your families when they do get those loan modifications and start digging their way out of trouble, just get right back into trouble again? Or do they actually...
I don't see it happening that fast, and I don't see it. It's not because of the family. The other point in this article, which is really alarming to me, is it says in a 2-year period, nearly half of U.S. households have a fluctuation in their income of 25%.
Wow.
You know, half of the households, their income from one year to the next can fluctuate as much as 25%. I guess that's overtime, losing a job, things like that. You would think that we would have a much more stable job situation in the country than we do from the standpoint of income and wages. So you get a loan modification, things are okay, you're starting to put a little bit of money away, you've gotten rid of the credit card debt, and then boom, you have a 25% loss in your income. How are you going to handle that? That's a big problem. And if it's an average of 25%, that means for every household that had a 50% gain in income, that other household had a 50% loss in income. It's a tough situation.
There's no question about that. And what we have to recognize is that you have to be aggressive on your own to try and fix these problems. If you are behind on your house and facing a foreclosure, the odds are you still have credit card debt. The odds are you have hospital bills. The odds are you might have some student loans.
The odds are really strong on those things too, is what I would say.
And it's not
like
100%.
Yeah.
It's not just fixing one aspect of the problem. You have to get a global solution to try to leave you with the ability to keep that roof over your head.
Is it important to prioritize the payments to those creditors, which ones to pick? Or?
Oh,
absolutely.
Isn't that here's the real problem. People prioritize the wrong creditor.
Oh, absolutely.
They prioritize the credit card company
over the house.
Right.
I assure you, the house is more important.
And they pull out of the IRA to do it.
And you know what they always pay first now, and it makes sense, is the car payment gets paid first, because the car payment's the easiest thing for the lender to take. Is they'll take the car right off of your driveway.
But you can drive your car to work. You can't drive your house to work.
Yeah.
Correct. And you have time to pay. The thing on the house is the house gives you a margin, but you can't just ignore it. When it gets to sale, it's too late. The fourth item in this article, and then we'll wrap it up and take a break, which I think is kind of amusing. It says the nation's growing wealth pile isn't being shared.
Shocking.
Shocking. Big surprise, right? The wealthy get wealthier, and the rest of us just fight.
And the poor get poor.
We'll be back.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. Before we get into how you solve the foreclosure problem and avoid the foreclosure and get a loan modification or what you can do, let me do a couple quick announcements. I want to welcome our Flint audience for sure. We have a couple seminars coming up. Wednesday, October 14th with Pat and also your brother Jim Samasco. We're going to repeat our Crossing 60, the important decisions you need to make seminar, because it oversold last time. It oversold for free because all of our seminars are free. But the seminar covers your Social Security decisions, Medicaid planning. If you're crossing 60, it's a monumental point in your life. Believe me, when you get there, you'll understand what I'm saying. And all of a sudden you realize if your parents are still living, they're in their late 80s and 90s, and you have to address the possibility that they need nursing home care. Oh, yeah. You also need to have, it's a sobering moment to say, wow, if I haven't really well laid good plans out for retirement, the clock is really ticking, so I really need to get serious at that point. So you have to kind of set up your estate plan to cover those issues. And then you have to think about your children, because if you're leaving your estate to your children and they have financial issues, or you're concerned about the wisdom in which they are going to manage their money and you're going to leave your assets to them, you need to protect them and to protect the money that you've earned that you're passing to them. So we cover all those issues.
Their inheritance is their retirement plan most times. The inheritance that they receive becomes their retirement plan, because they are not good shepherds of their wealth.
Yeah, that's a big problem for me, because there's nothing coming from my father.
There you go. Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're a millennial and your parents don't have anything, you're going to have to plan it on your own, is really what you're saying. The other seminar coming up is Wednesday, November 4th, How to Eliminate Debt and Build Savings for Retirement. Consider this your pre-holiday planning seminar on if you're going to go through the holidays and you're going to realize when you get to January and February that you've got way too much credit card debt and you're behind on the house and you have all these problems. This seminar is going to set the stage of how you eliminate debt and save money in the future.
It's a holiday present early.
Yeah, I like that. So it's free. Attendees on that seminar get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Both seminars you sign up at our website, lawandreality.com, or you call 888-235-HELP. In terms of the times, the How to Eliminate Debt seminar is on Wednesday, November 4th at 7 o'clock p.m. The Crossing 60 seminar is on Wednesday, October 14th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And you can also call 888-235-HELP to sign up for the seminars. Now, Brian, I spent a fair amount of time on the announcements, so we're a little short on time, but I need you to help us walk through with me, what do we do? What is our option, and how do we get a loan modification? What's this issue of double tracking that we hear about?
Well, where are we in this process? Let's start off with, you've just fallen behind on your house and you are looking for a solution. So what are your solutions?
Yeah, the sale hasn't occurred.
Okay, you've got an opportunity to seek a loan modification. A loan modification will help you restructure the loan and bring yourself current and potentially lower your interest rate, giving you more affordability of your house.
How do you go about getting that loan?
Well, it's under the process is called HAMP, is the program, Home Affordable Modification Program, and there's a simple rule: if you take 31% of your gross income, and that is more than your current house payment, you're done. If it's less than your current house payment, you have an opportunity to modify your loan.
31, okay.
All right, so if you're HAMP eligible, here's the important thing. In order to avail yourself of the remedy and to stop the lender from foreclosing, you need to submit a completed loan application, and technically it should be within 120 days of being late.
That's to avoid a problem of dual tracking, which we were going to talk about, which is under Reg X. You can, when you submit a completed loan modification package before 120 days behind on the mortgage, the lender cannot start a foreclosure until they have reviewed your loan
And what's
modification.
important about that is when they dual track you, you have the foreclosure going on and you have the loan modification going on, and if something goes wrong on the loan modification side, before you open your eyes, you find out that you're already in foreclosure because they've already put that notice on your house, and what the lender does is they just adjourn the sale from week to week. That's a horrible way to try and get a loan modification.
It's even worse than that.
And it's prohibited if you comply with Reg X by applying for your loan modification early rather than waiting too late.
Exactly, but it's even worse than that, because what happens is you're talking to the lender, and the lender's saying, oh, don't worry about the foreclosure. We're going to get this loan modification done. And then they say to you, sorry, and they foreclose the next day.
And when you say, but I got a notice from your attorney, and they say, oh, don't worry about that,
Yeah.
and they're lying. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does not allow dual tracking, but it still goes on. You have to stop it. We're down to 2 minutes left on the show for this segment. So the other problem is this. If you can't get it done and the house is going to sale, Chapter 13 bankruptcy stops the process of foreclosure and can save the home, but you must file that case before the
sheriff's sale.
Now, Brian, give us a quick rundown. How does 13 work? What's the benefit?
Structured reorganization over time, where you repay some or all of your debts, some or all of the money you owe them over a period of 3 to 5 years. It allows you to take the arrearage that you've accrued on your house, on that mortgage is foreclosing, and the bank says we want it now, and you say, no, we're going to give it back to you. We understand that we have to pay you back. We have 5 years to give it back to you.
And then on the other benefits is so you're a week away from foreclosure. You call Brian, he files a very emergency filing of a Chapter 13. You stop the sale. Now, even in the 13, we can apply for a loan modification.
Absolutely. We have all the tools. Once you have slowed the process down through Chapter 13 bankruptcy, now we can attack it. And that's what your opportunities are. But if you sit with your head in the sand, you will lose.
And no matter how many times we say that, you can't get the message through enough. And if you have friends out there that mention anything about their home, they need to take action. The most important thing, the biggest message from this segment on this show is you have to take action. If you just let it wait and you go to sale, at that point, it's very difficult. There are things that we can do to try and get the house back after sale, but they're a long shot. They're difficult, and it requires either a lawsuit or the lender to agree. That's a wrap. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.